I wonder what game won Game of the Year. I bet it's a game. I bet it's The Last of Us. So what game won Game of the Year? I wonder what it is. Well, it was The Last of Us Part 2, of course. I knew it was rigged from the start. It was rigged from the start. They gave one of the worst games of the year. Game of the Year! The Game Awards is not trustworthy anymore. I was saying from the beginning, they're going to give The Last of Us Part 2 Game of the Year because it was rigged from the start. It was rigged from the start to give The Last of Us Part 2 Game of the Year. When I watched the Game of the Year awards for like 30 to 40 minutes, it was cringe, it was horrible. None of the games looked really that good. It was like a lot of indie games and stuff that no one really cares about, okay? The really important thing was the Smash Bros. Reveal. You know, Among Us won multiplayer. Like, really? Among Us? Really? You know, they were saying, oh my god, Among Us is so amazing. Among Us. But really? We all know the Game Awards was rigged for The Last of Us Part 2. Because the Game Awards was voted by, you know who? Twitter and the mainstream media. It's their choice who wins Game of the Year. Their choice. Okay? Okay? But of course, we had a vote, and it was Ghost of Tsushima. It wasn't The Last of Us Part 2, of Abby, who won Best Character of the Year, or Best Performance of the Year. It's basically the same thing as Best Character of the Year. Like, really? Best Character of the Year? You're telling me that one of the worst characters in gaming, not the person who voiced Abby, I don't have anything against them. I have something against the character Abby, not the person who voiced Abby in the game. Okay? I don't have anything against the voice actor of Abby. I don't. Okay? The Last of Us Part 2 does not deserve Game of the Year. You know what deserves Game of the Year? I'll tell you what game deserves Game of the Year. Sekiro deserved Game of the Year. Well, let's look at the user score between Sekiro and The Last of Us Part 2. But the critics, like, Sekiro isn't that great. And look at the user score. Sekiro is considered like one of the greatest games of the year. 9.3, I think it's 9.2 out of 10. Okay, it's a game that everybody played, and everybody played it, everybody loved it. No one, except for Twitter, hated Sekiro. No, not Sekiro. Sekiro was the game that won last year. What was the game that won? Oh, what was that other game? I keep getting, oh yeah, Ghost of Tsushima. I keep getting Sekiro and Ghost of Tsushima mixed up for some reason. But they kept saying, Ghost of Tsushima has a 9.2. I apologize for mixing up Sekiro and, Ghost of Tsushima. They're very similar games, that's for sure. Sekiro and Ghost of Tsushima are very similar games, okay? I don't really know much about, Japanese games, so they look mostly the same to me. I haven't played either of them, but we'll get Sekiro, okay, that's Sekiro. Ghost of Tsushima's user score, 9.2, okay? A 9.2, okay? So, most of the people who played Ghost of Tsushima liked it. What does The Last of Us Part 2 have? Well, it was a 5. Last time I checked, it was a 5.8. A 5.8! You're really telling me that game is deserving? Oh, this is deserving. Game of the Year, okay? You're telling me that The Last of Us Part 2, one of the worst games of the year, is deserving of reign over Ghost of Tsushima. Some of the other games, like Final Fantasy VII Remake, doesn't deserve Game of the Year because it's the remake of Final Fantasy VII, okay? It's the same story already told 13 years ago, okay? Final Fantasy VII, when that came out, it was groundbreaking. Final Fantasy VII, when it came out, it was actually considered a groundbreaking game in storytelling and characters and games. Doom Eternal. Of course, that game deserves Game of the Year over Last of Us Part 2. We all know Doom Eternal deserves it over Last of Us, okay? Of course, some of the other games I agree with. Reigning Game of the Year. Okay, Dragon Quest did consistent, and that wasn't really a good year in gaming in 2014. I think Alien Isolation should have been there, but yeah, they put Hearthstone over Alien Isolation, which was a complete sad. Witcher 3 deserves Game of the Year, definitely. Overwatch, I love Overwatch. I don't care what you Uncharted, Sony ponies say. I love playing Overwatch. Overwatch is a very fun game. I love the characters except for Mei and Hanzo and Bastion. I love most of the characters, okay? Zelda, deserved Game of the Year. God of War, Haven't played it, but I think yeah, God of War deserves Game of the Year. Okay, Monster Hunter World is not so. Monster Hunter was not that great. Okay, especially if yeah, the gameplay is like very slow and stuff. It's just not my type of game. Red Dead Redemption. I will probably, God of War, I think it deserves Game of the Year. They brought back a franchise that millions of people loved, and they did it right. According to many people who played God of War, they did it right. Sekiro, I think Smash Bros. Deserves to win over Sekiro, but again, that's my Smash Bros. Bias speaking to me. That's my Smash Bros. Bias. So don't really tell me, don't really talk to me about what games will won Game of the Year, because it's kind of my side bias towards Super Smash Bros. That makes that say Smash Bros. Will deserve Game of the Year. But again, Sekiro again is still, I have not played it because I don't, says there, but yeah, Sekiro is still considered an amazing game by many people who have played the game. So people can tell me if people can tell me if Sekiro deserved it over Smash Bros. But I still think that Smash Bros. Will have won. And yeah, we all know the walking simulator called Death Strand does not deserve to be even nominated for Game of the Year. Okay, it's a walking simulator. It's not a game. Okay, it's a walking simulator. Okay, and then we have 2020. Okay, we have world class games. Okay, Ghost of Tsushima, Doom Eternal, and Animal Crossing. And you're telling me that The Last of Us Part 2 is better than all three of them, okay? All three of them, okay? Probably worst Game of the Year winner ever, okay? Probably worst Game of the Year winner ever, okay? We can go over the Game of the Year in the past, okay? Is there any game that won? Okay, there's some games I think are overrated, like Mario Galaxy, but is there any worst winner of the Game of the Year in the past? So we have Zelda, we have GoldenEye, Halo won Game of the Year. Half-Life 2, basically games that changed games for a while. And they'll probably give The Last of Us Part 2 Game of the Year, because it's always rigged towards The Last of Us Part 2. They gave Uncharted Game of the Year. So those people who love Uncharted, at least Britain gave a Game of the Year. But, but they gave Halo Game of the Year, which I think that Halo 1 deserved Game of the Year. Also, the Bioshock got Game of the Year, again, very deserving game to get Game of the Year. 2008. Portal 2, very deserving game. Destiny does not deserve Game of the Year. I'm sorry to tell you that. Destiny is horrible, okay? There are some people who love Destiny to death. Fallout 4, I think it's deserving, as well. Fallout 4. DICE Awards, here we go as well. Probably 2020 is going to be Last of Us Part 2. So, so DICE Awards, we have GoldenEye, deserving Game of the Year. Ocarina of Time, of course, deserving Game of the Year. Halo, deserving. Call of Duty, the first Call of Duty was considered revolutionary, but Halo, it's not really Game of the Year. Okay, Call of Duty, I haven't really played the first Call of Duty, but it actually won Game of the Year. Half-Life 2, of course, that's deserving. Call of Duty 4 changed gaming. I don't really like Call of Duty, but that was the game that changed FPS games forever. Skyrim, of course, deserved Game of the Year. It's freaking Skyrim. Fallout 4 and Overwatch and Breath of the Wild. Fallout 4 deserves Game of the Year. I don't care what Bethesda haters will try to tell you that Bethesda's like the worst company to try to tell you. Another game, again, it was really against Fallout 4 and, Witcher 3. I think both games are deserving Game of the Year, but you can only pick one. I think both games are deserving. GTA 5, another game that's deserving, that I think could got Game of the Year, but again, everybody will try to tell you The Last of Us is better, but yep. Sekiro, I think they haven't updated this yet, but yeah, The Last of Us, Crap of Us Part 2 won the Game of the Year there. And here's this one by Game Choice, Developers Choice Awards. Overwatch won that again. Of course, all the Overwatch haters, which are mostly Sony ponies, who are angry that, the Uncharted didn't win Game of the Year. And some of the other games like Metroid Prime, I have not played a single Metroid game, but, yep, that won Game of the Year. And yeah, TF2 never won Game of the Year, which was surprising. Your Dark Souls 3. Really? They gave freaking what kind of Golden Joystick Awards? Yeah, this is why that's like the stupid game awards. They gave that, we're not gonna count them. They gave Fortnite Game of the Year. Okay, Fortnite. Okay, freaking Fortnite. Okay, over Sekiro, over Smash Bros. No, freaking Fortnite. Okay. Sekiro came out in 2019. But, yeah, Fortnite does not deserve no Game of the Year. Fortnite's garbage, okay? Final Fantasy, I think this is a Japanese Game Awards, but Smash Bros, they won Game of the Year. Animal Crossing, it's mostly, Smash Bros, and this is like the Nintendo, they got the chance to get Game of the Year. Japan Game Awards. Animal Crossing won that award, SKW SW Game Awards. Breath of the Wild won that one. Yeah, Uncharted 4 did won Game of the Year on some sites. Overwatch won Game of the Year again. Some games. I'm surprised Halo 3 never won Game of the Year. That's what I'm surprised. Halo 3 was like a big. It was really big. Halo 3 is one of the greatest games ever made, and surprised it never won Game of the Year. Halo 2 won Game of the Year. Overwatch won a lot of Game of the Year awards, but people are saying how bad Overwatch is now. Oh, Overwatch is horrible. Oh yeah, but I get paid to play Valorant, or you're on Twitch. Okay, most people who hate Overwatch, they play Valorant. Okay, that's the people who hate Overwatch now. That's the game they play. It's always Valorant players, not TF2 players. Always Valorant players. Thank God Valorant will not give in any Game of the Year awards, because Valorant is just complete garbage. You can go here and here. Pokemon Sun who won Game of the Year. Whoa. That's for Minsu. I wonder what Kotaku's Game of the Year awards are. I think that it was it must have been either Game of the Year award or, Indie Game of the Year. Because I know Kotaku gave Doki Doki Literature Club Game of the Year. And everybody was like, really? Doki Doki Literature Club? I was like, really? Over Zelda? Over Zelda? They gave Doki Doki Literature Club Game of the Year. Giant Bomb, you're a disgrace to game. You gave PUBG Game of the Year over Zelda. Okay, you gave freaking PUBG of all video games. You gave freaking PUBG Game of the Year. Okay, talk about a joke. Okay, then most of these games, TF2 technically did get Game of the Year once of the orange box. So TF2 did get a Game of the Year award because it came in the orange box. So there we go. The Last of Us Part 2, The Crap of Us Part 2. One of the worst games of the year. Somehow, even the top 10 hates The Last of Us. But of course, Twitter, of course, they're celebrating. Like, oh my god, The Last of Us won Game of the Year. And we had the worst games of 2020. Not according to Metacritic, because of course, they only go over the critic reviews, of course. They'll never go over the audience reviews. They know that doesn't really matter to Metacritic, to the mainstream media. They'll never go over the audience scores, okay? They'll never go over the audience. They don't care about the gamer score. There's our scores for the game. They'll just call a review bombing. But here we go. The worst video games of 2020. Guess what game is at number 1? Guess what game is at number 1? The Last of Us Part 2 will probably be overtaken by Fast and Furious Crossroads, but Last of Us Part 2, despite winning Game of the Year by, of course, the mainstream, media, critics, of course, will give it, oh my god, The Last of Us Part 2 is so amazing! Abby's such a great character! We gotta give Abby an award because she's such an amazing character, okay? And again, let's look at, the most, she's not on with, again, the most hated video game characters, there's also a list of that. But again, nobody really voted on that list that much. Most hated video game characters that, nobody really goes on this list anymore here. This is like the most hated video game characters here. It's pretty outdated here. Like, for example, Joel is on the list of the most hated characters. Abby should be on some soft spots with Joel. Bubsy's not in the top 10. He should be in the top 10 because he's like one of the worst pieces of crap ever imagined by gaming developers. Okay? One of the worst pieces of crap ever developed by gaming developers. But yeah, Abby from The Last of Us Part 2. One of the worst characters of all time. Okay? No one really liked Abby. Okay? Most hated video game characters of all time. Or there's a much better list. The worst video game characters, I think she's probably higher on that list. As well, because nobody really likes The Last of Us Part 2 in the games. The games journalists, the game developers, okay? All the gaming sites who will prop up The Last of Us Part 2 as the greatest game. Yeah, Bubsy, this is the worst gaming characters, and guess what Bubsy is? Bubsy's at 2, well, he belongs. He belongs. Bubsy should be number 1. We gotta get Bubsy the number 1 on the worst gaming characters. For some reason Mario is on the list. Okay? Of worst gaming characters. And Sonic. Like, come on. Sonic is not one of the worst gaming characters of all time, okay? Again, this is the top 10. They have horrible pants. Let's look at the worst anime characters. They have Goku in the top 10 worst anime characters of all time. They have Naruto as well. 2 icons of the anime industry in the top 10 worst anime characters of all time. Again, the top 10 is a So Princess Rosalina on the list, you know, as well. But they have but you have actual bad characters like very low on the list, like Jonesy. Characters that people actually hate, like Mr. Rossetti, the creepers from Minecraft because they explode your house. You don't have FNAF, Undertale. Some characters that people actually hate. On the internet, but the top 10 they love. You know, Abby is at 64 on the worst character. It's 64. She should be in the top 10 worst characters, okay? They force you to play 10 hours as her. That's even worse than I thought it was. 10 hours you're forced to play as a character that killed one of the most beloved characters from the previous game. They force you to play for 10 hours. 10 miserable hours. But they have a lot of really horrible characters that are way lower than icons of gaming. Like Link is on this list of the worst gaming characters of all time, okay? And what's they calling CDI Link, okay? CDI Link. But again, CDI Link isn't even that bad. He's a meme. How can you hate CDI Link because he's a meme? He's funny because he's a meme, okay? But yeah. Really what the worst characters would be Bubsy, Abby, as well, Jonesy, of course, some of the worst characters of all time, those would be in the top 3, May, again, if we go by my bias, Monica, Pink Gold Pete's, again, he's already on this list. Pink Gold Pete's is, one of the worst characters of all time in gaming. Again, we have, Elise from Sonic 06 was in the top 10 already. We have Jasper Bat Jr., Porky Mince as well. And many more hated characters. Baldy, I don't like Baldy. More horrible characters if you want to talk about, there. And there we go. Some of the worst gaming characters, Abby, Last of Us Part 2 does not deserve any of its awards, okay? It's probably the worst game to win Game of the Year ever. The Last of Us Part 2, one of the worst games of all. One of the worst games of the whole entire year. Okay? And especially the People's Choice. The 5 people on Twitter like, oh, Daddy, give Ghost of Tsushima Game of the Year! And they cried and whined that people got Ghost of Tsushima Game of the Years. Yep. That's what Twitter does. Cry and whine. The Last of Us Part 2. One of the worst games of the year. Okay, worst games. It's pretty high even on the worst games of all time. Okay, the worst games of all time. And the Last of Us Part 2 that's released months ago. Okay, less than a half a year ago. And it's already at number 100. Okay. The Last of Us Part 2 is at 128 worst games of all time. This is the list of the worst games of all time. Imagine years from now. Last of Us Part 2. You also have the list of the most. I wonder if it's the most disappointing games now. Most disappointing games of all time. I think that's in the recommended games list. Videos list. Nope, it isn't. Most disappointing games of all time. That's also a list on here. Most disappointing games of all time. We have Destiny, we have Halo 4, No Man's Sky, Ready number 9. And where is The Last of Us Part 2? Last of Us Part 2 is a newer game, okay? The Last of Us Part 2, 35. 45? 45 already. Smash Bros, yeah, that's not disappointing. Some of these games, Final Fantasy VII does not deserve to be on the list. According to the top 10s, the Final Fantasy VII is more disappointing, even though that game was groundbreaking when it came out, than The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us Part 2 will probably be in the top 10 games in the coming 5 or 6 years. Coming 5 or 6 years, okay? The Last of Us Part 2, worst games of all time. Top 100. Most disappointing games, top 10. Okay? Because The Last of Us Part 2 is up there with games like, Sonic 06, Duke Nukem Forever, Destiny, Halo 4, No Man's Sky, Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, Resident Evil 5, Metroid Other M, Mass Effect 3, Aliens Colonial Marines, Ready number 9, Bubsy. Oh yeah, Bubsy PD sucks anyways. You know, Fallout 76 was only at number 15. Minecraft is that? Yeah, Minecraft should be lower than Last of Us Part 2. You know, New Super Mario Bros. 2, Mass Effect Andromeda. It's up there with all the rest of them. Okay? Up there with all the rest of the most disappointing games of all time. Okay? The Last of Us Part 2. Okay? And that's basically it about this video. Goodbye.